there has been an increasing amount of gold reserve accumulation over the past decade. Several countries ranging from China to Russia have all been buying up gold in vast quantities. This is a response to the changing global financial landscape, where trust in the US dollar and other fiat currencies has weakened. And there is one country that has emerged to be one of the world's largest holders of gold reserves, and that is no other than Taiwan. Taiwan, despite its economic and geographical size, is amongst the largest holders of gold. Here's a graph on the gold reserves comparing Taiwan to major economies. Here, you can see that despite having lower economic outputs or GDP, Taiwan has a much higher gold reserves than many economies. Take, for instance, the United Kingdom, which is a well-known financial hub and amongst the world's most successful economies. Yet, that very country has lower gold reserves than that of Taiwan. Likewise, even Singapore, which is one of the world's leading financial hubs, has lower gold reserves. There's a very long list of nations, as you can see in the graph, that has lower gold reserves than Taiwan. This is, of course, something that has intrigued a lot of people. Despite being a smaller economy, Taiwan is one of the world's largest holders of gold. Why is that the case? Is it because of its geopolitical position and strategic concerns? Well, there's a lot of reasons for Taiwan's gold accumulation. But to understand the reason, we must first discuss the history behind Taiwan's gold reserves. The roots of Taiwan's gold reserves can be traced back to one of the most tumultuous periods in East Asian history: the Chinese Civil War. In the late 1940s, as the nationalist government, Kuomintang or KMT, faced defeat against the communist forces led by Mao Zedong, Chiang Kai-shek and his associates made a series of strategic decisions to secure what assets they could. Among these decisions was the secretive relocation of a substantial portion of China's gold reserves to Taiwan. At the time, gold was seen as the ultimate safeguard against the chaos of war and economic collapse. When the KMT retreated to Taiwan in 1949, they carried with them not only military personnel and government officials, but also a trove of valuable assets, including gold, silver, and foreign currency reserves. Historical accounts have varied from one source to another. Some said it was around 100 tons, while others nearly as much as 100 metric tons. Here's a table according to research on the amount of gold transferred to Taiwan from 1948 to 1949. Most of the gold, as you can see, is from Shanghai. But in total, the gold transferred was over 2.96 million market tael, which is approximately 92.5 metric tons. Here's the thing: 92.5 metric tons at market value back in the late 1940s was approximately $104 million, an enormous sum at the time, equivalent to billions of dollars in today's money. But if we were to take this 92.5 metric tons and check the market value of it today, it would be a massive $8.66 billion. So, could that gold from back then be the same gold that the country has today? Well, the answer for that is likely yes. While Taiwan has occasionally bought and sold gold over the decades, a significant portion of the reserves accumulated during the 1940s remains part of their holdings today. The impacts of these gold reserves had helped Taiwan's economy. In the immediate aftermath of the Civil War, Taiwan faced the dual challenges of rebuilding a war-torn economy and quelling rampant hyperinflation. The introduction of the new Taiwan dollar was a key element of this recovery process. However, launching a new currency in a country already battered by economic instability was no small feat. The government needed to instill confidence among its citizens and international investors alike. The gold reserves played a central role in this process. Because gold is an asset with intrinsic value, anchoring a currency to gold helped to assure the public that the new Taiwan dollar was backed by tangible wealth. Even though the era of the gold standard was long over in most parts of the world, Taiwan's use of gold as a stabilizing reserve was a pragmatic choice. It provided a fixed, reliable store of value that could be used to support the currency during times of economic uncertainty. Furthermore, The gold reserves allowed the central bank to offer a degree of liquidity. By holding a significant amount of gold, Taiwan's central bank could demonstrate that the country was not vulnerable to the same kinds of financial crises that had destabilized other nations during the mid-20th century. This assurance was vital for a nation that had just emerged from the devastation of war. Then, beyond the post-war period, Taiwan had two specific important times where it accumulated gold. The first was because of domestic gold mining. During the 20th century, Taiwan had active gold mining operations. Notably, the Jingguashi mine was one of the largest, estimated to hold about 8 million ounces of gold reserves before its closure in 1987. Secondly, during the 1970s, Taiwan had accumulated gold reserves to balance the trade surplus with the United States. This was done because Taiwan sought to stabilize and protect the value of its currency during a period of significant global financial shifts. In 1971, the Bretton Woods system, which pegged global currencies to the US dollar and indirectly to gold, collapsed. As a result, currencies around the world experienced volatility and uncertainty. Taiwan, heavily reliant on exports and trade surpluses, particularly with the United States, recognized that holding gold was an effective way to hedge against currency fluctuations and economic instability. Now, this was Taiwan's history, so let's talk about the role of gold in Taiwan today. Gold, as it is before and as it is today, is still considered as a safe haven asset, a store of value that retains its worth even when other investments falter. If we were to graph out the price of gold over time, we get to see that gold hasn't really lost its value. As a matter of fact, it has risen every single time. For instance, back in the 1980s, it was trading at $300 to $800 per ounce. Today, however, gold has dramatically risen to over $2,800 per ounce. Due to this safe haven asset, Taiwan considers it essential because of its role in the current world. Taiwan, as some of you may know, is situated in one of the most geopolitically sensitive regions in the world. The island nation faces constant pressure from China, and tensions between Taipei and Beijing have escalated significantly over recent years. Gold, therefore, serves as a critical insurance policy, a financial shield to help Taiwan withstand economic shocks or geopolitical turbulence. But of course, that's not the only reason why Taiwan holds a lot of gold. These gold reserves also play a role as a support mechanism for the national currency, the new Taiwan dollar. The Central Bank of Taiwan has long maintained that its gold holdings help ensure that there is a solid foundation behind every new Taiwan dollar in circulation. This policy is rooted in the belief that a currency is only as strong as the assets backing it. By keeping gold reserves at a relatively stable level, fluctuating only slightly between 421 and 424 tons over the past 2 decades, the central bank sends a message of financial prudence and stability to the market. In practical terms, these reserves mean that if there were ever a sudden need for liquidity, whether to stabilize the currency in a crisis or to reassure international partners, Taiwan would have a ready supply of a universally recognized asset. Then, thirdly, an essential role that gold has played for Taiwan is that they have held their gold consistently. If we were to graph out Taiwan's gold reserves for the past 20 years, we get to see that they haven't really been selling or buying. Here, as you can see in the graph, it shows that in the year 2000, Taiwan had gold reserves of over 422 tons, which is a figure that isn't that different from today, which is at 423 tons. If we were to graph out, for instance, China's gold reserve, we get to see that they have actively been buying gold. That is the complete opposite of Taiwan, which hasn't sold nor bought gold in the past 2 decades. The decision to hold on to its gold, rather than engage in aggressive buying or selling, reflects a long-term strategy aimed at preserving economic stability. This strategy, however, has actually paid off, as the appreciation in the price of gold has added significant unrealized gains to Taiwan's balance sheet. Such gains not only enhance the country's financial stability, but also provide an additional source of national wealth that can be leveraged if needed. A report published by Taipei Times said that Taiwan's central bank reported that the unrealized gain on its gold holdings has reached nearly 900 billion new Taiwan dollars, due to the dramatic rise in gold prices since the reserves were first purchased in the 1970s. Finally, before we end the video, we must also discuss how much gold Taiwan really has relative to the overall size of their foreign exchange reserves. Here's a graph on Taiwan's international reserves. Here you can see that they have foreign currency reserves, which are composed of currency deposits and securities. These amounts to over $573 billion, which actually takes up the bulk of Taiwan's reserves. And here you can see that gold isn't actually a lot. Gold at market value, according to this June 2024 report by the Central Bank of the Republic of China Taiwan, it amounts to just 13.59 million fine troy ounces, which, if converted at $2,800 in today's value, it would amount to around $38 billion. So, Taiwan's gold purchases are deeply intertwined in history, rather than recent purchases. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.